and you are. We are citizen Outbreak. Welcome to the podcast.
Matthew, how are you today?
What? How are we doing?
So I think people were listening to us about the whole rickshaw thing from the last episode.
Yeah.
There was a whole thing about the rickshaws and the pedicabs, whatever you want to call them, however you want to call them, in the New York Post today.
Yeah.
Did you see this?
Yeah, they're causing all kinds of disturbance.
They're causing a ruckus outside of Broadway shows.
Right, that they're on too loud. They're disturbing the Broadway shows, right?
So I guess they're sitting outside and they're blasting their music, and they got the speakers out on these rickshaw things, so they're blasting the music, and people that are actually in the Broadway shows can hear them, and it's been causing a disturbance. A lot of people are not happy about this, and you brought it up. You said I
was on like the 70s on Madison on Sunday, and what do you call it? It was like quiet, nice. It was like a nice Sunday afternoon, and like blasting coming up Madison, Pretty Woman, and it's so out of place, and it was blasting, and there was like this this couple and a young kid sitting in the back. What kind of who sits in the back like disturbing the peace like that? I thought it was crazy.
Tourists. Who else is going? Who else is going in these rickshaws? It's tourists. People.
But it's one thing when you see that bullshit and it's like midnight or dark and you're going on like 8th Avenue and it's like noisy everywhere. I mean, this was like a quiet, like all you're doing is going through a quiet neighborhood and making a lot of noise. I mean, I don't know when it's cool, and I don't know why anybody would want to sit. The volume of these things was crazy. And since you mentioned it last week, I've been taking a lot of pictures. You're frozen.
Okay, now I lost Wi-Fi for some reason. My Wi-Fi went out. Okay, we're back now. And go on.
No, it's a totally what's the charge? Disorderly, disturbing the peace. It's terrible. And I don't care. It's like people have all these stereotypes about New York. If those are tourists, I don't know what it takes to be like this. I was looking at this couple, like grown-ups with a young kid and blasting music, and like people were just looking like, "What are you doing?"
Because they're tourists, of course. They're
And plus, since you brought it to my attention, they're paying $10 a minute to be in the back of that thing blasting where you can't even speak. You're paying $10 a minute to be an asshole, to disturb the peace.
So in this article, actually, it said that some people are paying up to $400. $400? Are you kidding me? That's insane.
Well, I guess they're going for 40 minutes. I mean, I hope they bring earplugs. It's so loud.
I hope they're bringing cash.
Crazy.
But I don't know if you know these guys, Council Member Eric Botcher and Council Member Keith Powers. I don't know who they are, but they're proposing these bills that basically has boundaries to protect the theater experience and bring order to chaos outside the stage doors. They want to push these pedicabs and rickshaws like I think 20 blocks away from Broadway.
I mean, you used to not be allowed. There was like a decibel thing if you were driving. Probably still is on the books, right? Like if you're driving your car.
There's also a law that you can't idle. You get like a big fine for idle.
Right. And so these guys are idling. So, since you brought it up on the last show, I've been watching and documenting. I'm putting together a photo album.
You keep sending them to me. You keep sending me these photos of the rickshaw guys.
But they idle, and the volume of the music is crazy. It's like we were talking about it, all of this, and this changed during COVID. But there used to be a law you couldn't ride bicycles on the sidewalk. You used to see. Used to have signs, like they had the signs about, cleaning up after your dog. They used to say no bikes on the sidewalk. And yesterday I was talking to you actually, and there was that person on a bicycle on Madison Avenue, going up Madison Avenue. So they're going uptown. The traffic on Madison Avenue was going uptown, but this person was on the sidewalk and she was on a phone. I think she was on a FaceTime, like looking at their phone and kind of walking it, but on the bike. So like on the bike, and an old lady came out of a doorway, and like she had to stop, and she yelled. And I said to the lady, I got on the phone, on the bike. I said, "What are you doing? Like, why?" And she said, "Because I'm in a rush." I said, "You're on the sidewalk because you're in a rush."
Was it a lady or was it like some girl?
Nah, it was a young kid. It was like she was, if she were 19, that 20. But I mean, they're going zigzagging on the sidewalks. These guys in the pedicabs are idling and they're playing loud music. It's like so much of this stuff. There's just no order at all. They don't care about anything. Like, there's no consequence. They know that there's no consequence.
So apparently it costs $50 to get a license to drive one of these pedicabs. And maybe that's something you and I should do on the side. I don't know. But the insurance is what dings them. I guess it's very expensive to get insurance to ride on these rickshaws. I guess there's liability. So these guys, the bulk of their money comes from standing outside of Broadway, and when the Broadway people get out, they want to get in. That's where their customers are. Broadway.
Right.
It's the tourists that want to go to Broadway. That's the low hanging fruit. You come out, and I was at a Broadway show. I came out and they're like, my car's parked like a block away. I'm not getting in the rickshaw.
Right.
And they're like aggressive. They're in my face. They're going, come on, my friend. Come on, my friend.
Right. By the way, they have the Amazon delivery pedicabs now too. Have you seen those guys?
I have seen those.
It's
Those
the
are
same
real.
rig.
What do you
It's
mean?
the same rig. I mean, it's it's instead of a person in the back of the cab, it's the boxes, right? But they're zipping those things around.
They're not charging $10 a month.
I get it, but I'm just saying that's one element, and that's a crazy element. And it's crazy that these people are paying $400 to ride around in this in noise box and disturbing the peace, all that. But then it's also just like the landscape of Manhattan is being cluttered with as much of these things. Like we got bicycles on the sidewalk, Vespas on the sidewalk. We got pedicabs driving tourists around like boom boxes. We got Amazon. It's crazy.
But Matthew, those pedicabs, the bicycles, the Amazon bikes, they don't have to pay congestion toll for a Kathy Hochul.
They don't have to pay congestion toll?
Of course not. They don't have a license plate. Why would they pay? And there's no law about congestion tolling for bicycles, motorcycles, the Vespas, but the Vespas you're talking about don't have license plates.
Yeah, those are like the delivery. They're the ones that they gave to the people at the Roosevelt Hotel.
Yeah, exactly. So these rickshaws, this is not a new thing. They've been around for a long time, but now it's gaining some steam because maybe there's more of them.
I mean, there's a lot of them now. Like, and I'm noticing they're all over the place.
Right. So listen, I think you and I,
$400, Jesus.
yeah. I think you and I on the weekends so that we should, become pedicab people.
Look, I'll get my niece, my nephew. You get your daughter. I mean, we'll have a whole fleet.
Yeah, we could have a whole fleet. We'll go up and down the streets. We'll pick up people and we'll play music and and what these guys don't know is how to give tours. Like imagine you get on a rickshaw, like in Paris, for instance. You've been to Paris, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. Have you ever seen the Citroën, the Deux Chevaux, the 2CVs? They pick you up. It's the little car. It's kind of like a Volkswagen Bug. Right.
Yeah.
And it's got the roof off. My dad actually has one in France, but they pick you up and they do a tour. And they show you, look, there's the Eiffel Tower, like the Triumph, Louis Vuitton over here. Here's this museum, that museum.
Right.
But the rickshaw people, they're not taking you around and saying, oh, here's the World Trade Center. Here's the Empire State Building. Here's where Puffy did his things, stuff like that. Maybe we can get into this kind of business. What do you think?
Well, first of all, these guys knowing that they're taxi drivers, Uber drivers have no idea where they're going or what. I had to tell a hello cab today. I had to tell where Madison Avenue was.
The Uber drivers don't even know that they're in New York.
I have no idea where they are.
But
I've had them.
This could be a serious business. I want you to go to sleep tonight. We could call it Boychik Rickshaw.
Boychik Rickshaw. Yeah.
And we could go around and we could have one for mob movies, like in, this is where Don Corleone was. I don't know if there was so much in New York, or Saving Grace with Sean.
Like the Sex and the City tour, but on
do like a whole Hollywood thing on rickshaw. People would pay big money for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you
Well,
should
they
think,
they are. They're paying $400. He said.
and we could be pilots on the rickshaws.
Good workout.
It's a very good workout.
And you don't get hit by tennis racket.
Yeah. So you got some. You want to talk to me about some topics?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the.
Right,
Did you
pilot.
see? Yeah, pilots. That was a good lead-in. I missed it. So pilots. It's Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month. June is Pride Month,
Thank you.
and Air Canada, to coronate or kick off or to what was it to has launched its first ever. Well, apparently now it's more than just there's
Some kind of noise on your side.
it's the one because I'm trying to see it's now it's first off there's more, they added letters and numbers to the LGBT to the alphabet stuff. It's now the 2S LGBTQIA plus. That's the group. And Air Canada has launched its first all 2S LGBTQIA plus flight, meaning that I guess everybody operating the flight, and I think everybody invited to fly on this flight was part of that group.
Great.
And that's to kick off Pride Month. And they did this whole Instagram, social media commercial that's gone viral.
Great. But can I ask you, did they have that for, I don't know, we don't have a month for veterans, or like we had Memorial Day just now, but that's Memorial Day. We have
Right.
Mother's Day, we have Father's Day. The president,
I think
Lincoln and
they got squished into one.
George Washington, they got one day. Martin Luther King, he's got one day. I mean, you do have, Black Pride Month, but let's Pride Month, but they also have October is also their month, and like there's a lot, and like okay, I understand.
Wait, what happens in October?
It's also like a pride thing. I don't know. It's something. There's something.
I don't know.
If you look at the calendar, there's something every single month. And don't get me wrong, like I have nothing against it, but a whole month and you're flying a whole plane, like fly a whole plane of veterans and say, hey, this is.
I have stuff against it. I think this whole kind of movement these past few years, the woke, this DIA, all like they're bringing segregation back, and it's the most like in like the bullshit, charade of trying of marketing yourself as like we're here to celebrate these rights or fight back against whatever oppressor there is against my group. You're just forming lines against you're drawing lines against around sections of people, and it's like we've become like every group has to be identified, and like it's crazy. I mean, it's pretty nuts. Like the so-called liberals have brought back segregation, and everything has to be identified by who you're having sex with, and like the reason why they've stretched out this alphabet so much is to include some of the stuff that I think it's not like I don't think I don't think you have a lot of open homophobia in America or anywhere around the world. I don't think that like this idea that they're fighting for their rights. Like I think that thankfully you have though all people. I think that they've I don't think there's a big problem now running around. I think like recently with the issue of like the trans, which is like a really minuscule part of our society, they've brought in and attached that to the larger group, because now they're saying, well, if you're against any part of these things, you're against the whole group, which is disingenuous. And I think so it's strategic, and I think it's
Matthew,
I think it's ridiculous flying a plane, the LGBTQ plane. What does that mean?
I don't know, but I have a question for you. This thing on your face. What happened? What happened?
I was playing squat.
Were you playing with a tranny?
No,
Did
I
she
was
beat you?
No, I was playing with my buddy. He was, squash
Is your buddy a girl or a guy? Guy
He's a
girl.
guy. Squash is like MMA of racket sports. It's a very very it's like the crazy workout, and you're in this little box, and you both are running around hitting walls, and balls flying out, and he had a backswing and hit me right in the eye.
Speaking of balls flying around, did you hear about
Yeah.
remember the Olympic boxer Iman Khelif? Remember the whole boxing thing over the summer in France? There was a boxer,
Right.
and everybody thought it was
Right.
and she was saying, "No, I'm a girl, I'm a girl, I'm a girl."
Right. And then it's a guy.
It's a guy. They did the tests and they found out that this 26-year-old Khalifi had male XY chromosomes by an Indian doctor.
Right.
So she gonna give back the gold medal? Because the
No.
Algerian boxer, she's from Algeria, or he's from Algeria. He won the gold medal. Is he gonna give the gold medal back? And is the runner up, the girl who got her ass beat by this man, gonna get the gold now?
Well, is there any pressure for this to happen, or are we, racist or sexist or something for even inferring that should happen? I don't know. I don't know where we're at. Right.
So
I think it's
we're
so
in this-
crazy.
we're in this world of, again, like, if you hear anything that's not true, what do you say, Matthew? Who do you blame? Who do you blame if you hear something that's not true in the media? The first person that you blame. No, the other person. You blame Russia, right?
Oh, Putin. Yeah, Putin. Yeah. Sorry. So Putin did this.
When Macron got slapped by his wife, what was the first thing that happened?
That was Russian disinformation.
Okay, Trump.
Yeah, they hacked democracy.
Okay, so the Olympic Committee is suggesting that this test that came out is misinformation planted by Russia.
For real? Oh, I missed that.
Shit you not.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
That's amazing.
It's really, really, really amazing. But I think this is ridiculous that we have these.
So, trans people, like I think something like 0.2 or less or something, 1% identify as that in America. So this entire movement, when Joe Biden said this was the social, in 2020 when he said this is the civil rights issue of our time, he knew he was lying, right? He at the time was like an 80-year-old guy. He knew he was lying, and this whole movement has been manufactured by the state with the media into the school curriculum. There's nothing really organic about this. You just can't say that this very, very small section of society, it's not, I saw, what's the guy's name on CNN who's always fending off all those dopes? He's Scott Jennings.
Yeah.
He's on. Yeah. I mean, they were talking about it, and the girl next to him was like, well, what are we supposed to do now about this issue? And because they're like about these people, and he's like, let them compete in the sports that they're biologically should compete in. And she's like, well, that's not what, but she said that's not where we're at. That's not where we are at today, which is not true. I mean, it's crazy, and
as a father of girls, and one of my daughters plays volleyball, and there was an instance. Now, she didn't play against it, but there was another team in another tournament played against this guy that was a girl. And like, if you get smacked in the head with the volleyball from like a boy, it's a big thing. My other daughter got hit in the head by a volleyball from a boy, and she had a concussion. So now, like, you imagine, like, you have strength as a boy. You have hormones. Now it's a disadvantage, and somebody can get hurt.
Their entire movement in women's sports. We live in New York. There's something called the Billie Jean King Tennis Association, where they play the U.S. Open. It's named after Billie Jean King because when she was in the prime of her career, she defeated an alcoholic, retired 59-year-old out of shape guy,
Gambler.
And they said it was like the achievement of a generation, and that put Billie Jean King in women's sports in a different different category. I mean, how, if you're Billie Jean King, are you not out here being like, what is this bullshit? Like, this isn't women's rights to let a guy dress up and pretend to, that we have to pretend because he's been, told that it's okay for him to say I'm a woman. that now everybody else. I mean, that swimmer, and then there was that UFC person. That dude just got in the UFC ring and beat the shit out of the woman. Did you remember that? That was like
just this past Saturday, trans athlete AB Hernandez, not Aaron Hernandez, that guy killed somebody and then died.
Killed a few people.
Yeah, took first place in the girls' high and triple jump events at California's high school championship, and placed second in long jump. This guy couldn't even finish first in long jump. He had to come in second. But what is going on? Then you had a 6-foot-tall 14-year-old freshman join varsity track at William Floyd High School in Long Island in March.
I mean, did you see
treatment even?
There's a movie with Brendan Fraser and Christopher Walken called Blast from the Past. Did you ever see that movie?
I remember Blast from the Past. He was like in the they built a bunker and then he came out.
Right. They go into the bunker during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The father's like a genius, and then they like a plane crash or whatever, and so they think that the nukes have been shot off, and they have a time lock, and then 50 years, 40 years, 30, whatever comes by, and now it's the 90s and the early 2000s, and they send the grown-up Brendan Fraser up in like early 2000s LA to go, and the first thing he runs into is a trans hooker. It's like, hey, baby. And he comes down. It's really crazy. Like what we have going on right now is crazy. You have people dressed up in suit and tie and jacket that know better. Like, that's the thing. Like, if they don't, they should be in padded rooms themselves. Like these people that are on these news shows, like talking about that this is like where we're at as society. It's completely dishonest, or they are lunatics, because I don't understand where we're at, like where we have guys beating the shit out of girls and then being crowned as like feminist of the year. It's a pretty insane situation.
It's nuts. I just don't understand. Where are the feminists? How come the feminists are not standing up and like being like,
it's like Caitlyn Jenner. It's like Caitlyn Jenner makes the most sense out of everybody, because that dude's like, they shouldn't be competing against the girls.
Right. But even he came out, or she came out, whatever you want to call him, and he said that this is wrong.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. He's like making the most sense out of everybody, and that guy's running around in a dress.
Right, but he could also be running around on the track going against women.
Right. And that guy was a serious talent.
He was a serious talent. Speaking of another serious, well, not very serious talent, and we don't know if it's a guy or a girl, or I don't know, allegedly, I have no idea what this person is, or if this is a person, or if this is a child. We don't know. Greta Thunberg has decided to forget about all her climate change activities, and she has set sail to Gaza on the.
She's like uploading from the mast of from like the bow of the ship.
Right. So she is on the Freedom Flotilla coalition, and I guess she left from Italy on June 1st. And the boat is called the Madeline boat. And they set sail, her and a bunch of idiots set sail for Gaza. And I am thinking that they will be met in Gaza with open arm grenades.
Well, if she shows up the way she's talking in this, the way she's filming herself, she'll be stoned, because you can't. She has to put on a hijab. She's got to cover up. But she has to find a lane to move to, because climate change as a narrative, they got a shelf, right? Because with AI and everything, they need a lot of energy. So they got to stop, they can't really be out there, trying to pitch the climate change, we're all going to die thing when they're using, all this power for the AI, for ChatGPT. So she's out of a job on the climate change. So yeah, she they welcomed her in the Hamas camp.
She's not alone on this voyage to Gaza. She's with Liam Cunningham, an actor from Game of Thrones. Do you know this guy? I actually did not watch Game of Thrones, so I do not know.
I did.
Do you know who this guy is?
I wanna see which one is Liam.
Well, this is not. Not charity. This is a form of nonviolent.
This guy, he's like her grandfather. The two of them are on the flotilla.
Yeah.
It's a weird. It's like an odd couple, you know.
Well, it's
Have you
not
seen
just
this guy?
There's a. I can't see. Go down. Oh yeah, I don't know that.
Lord Davos. I think he was Davos. But
So so she. If you don't know who Greta Thunberg is, Greta Thunberg claims that she is 22 years old, but she looks like my friend said, an aging Hillary Clinton.
it's actually a good comp.
Yeah, so she looks like she could be 50 something.
She's hideous.
Look, I don't like to talk
Although
bad.
Hillary wasn't bad. Hillary wasn't bad looking when she was 20, went to 22 or whatever. This girl.
I don't think this girl's 22.
No, I don't think she's 22.
Allegedly, I don't think she's 22. Look, these I'm going to say this. I don't want to make fun of anybody. I don't want to talk badly about anybody. But I don't think that Greta Thunberg is 22 years old. I don't even think she's 23 years old.
Well, let's unpack it just for a second right there, right? So remember why she got famous? How dare you? How dare you? Right?
How dare you?
Right. Where did they find? She was just another. If she was 15 back then, why is that? If you're pushing, if climate change is real, right, and you're really nervous that the rivers are boiling, like Al Gore said they are and everything, right? Why would you choose a 12-year-old to be the leader of your movement? Why wouldn't you choose some guy in a white smock to explain the CO2, this and that? What you choose it, and like, so what did they do? They found her. She's not attractive, like I'll say. She wasn't like a cute kid. I think if they found like, so because they want to just appeal to it's virtue signaling to like this bullshit seizure of the moral high ground, which they don't have. Because really, so they float her out there and say that she's the leader of the climate. Like, we should all listen to this kid. Why should we listen to this kid? How dare you? How dare you? At least like, bro, how dare you? Like, they rolled, DiCaprio, he's an actor. Like, I get that. This kid, like, how dare you? Why do I need to listen to this girl? So, I don't think anything about her is honest or organic. I think she was picked and directed and, like Time Magazine. Wasn't she like Person of the Year?
I don't know if she won Person of the Year. I don't care if she won Person of the Year.
It's
thing. She keeps getting arrested. Somehow she keeps getting out. Somebody's definitely paying for her.
Greta Thunberg.
But she's on her way to Gaza. When she gets there, I guarantee you there's going to be somehow, wherever she lands, there's going to be a lot of media. They're going to be documenting it. Somehow they got there. They fought through the
Greta Thunberg was named. Sorry to interrupt you. She was named Person of the Year, Time Person of the Year, 2019. How dare you? Yeah, she's terrible.
I don't understand. Like, first of all, what do people see in her that makes her desirable to even like listen to her?
They're being told that she's desirable.
Right, but if she was 15, 22, 23, like, why am I listening to this?
I think she looks 47 because they've decided. Time Magazine, like, you think Time Magazine 2019, they're sitting around. Greta Thunberg yes, she's the Person of the Year on this planet. We should all really be like anointing this little 12-year-old because she sat there and said, "How dare you? She's the Person of the Year." That just is that tips the hat. It's all bullshit. Like she's bullshit. The movement is bullshit. Climate change as a movement was coined by Frank Luntz. The guy with the toupee and the belly that goes on Fox News, the pollster. He came up with climate change, the term. So, he did. So, I mean, they find Greta Thunberg. They say, we're going to appeal to people's, conscience and their morality because we're going to get a little girl and she's going to go tell them how dare them.
Right. So I don't know, but anyway, other disturbing news.
I don't like Greta Thunberg.
I don't like Greta.
I like her on that. I like the footage that you said on the boat. I think it's funny.
I think it's funny too. Like, but I don't know one person who thinks anything highly of Greta Thunberg. Not one. Not one. Senator Josh Hawley, Republican from Missouri, dropped another piece of disturbing news on Hannity. Did you see his interview on Hannity? No.
No. What was it?
A whistleblower told Hawley that At the time, President Joe Biden was so brain dead that he could not find his way out of his own closet.
It's like a can't touch your way out of a wet paper bag.
The guy literally stumbling around in White House residence couldn't find his way out of his own closet. He added, "This is outrageous. We were lied to." I mean, look, we heard, you know, unfortunately he's got cancer. We heard that he's not all there. You know, now you got Jack Tapper running around, you know, trying to do press on his book, and he automatically now is telling the truth about the cognitive decline of President Joe Biden. We knew, everyone could see, and now this is all coming out. So what my thing isn't, we understand that he had mental issues. We could probably figure that he got lost in his own closet. He probably didn't even know he was in the White House, in the Oval Office, or anywhere near Washington, D.C. But why are they bringing it up now? And why is there such a push now to get it out in the public? Is it to save face because they lost in the elections and that they need to repair their image as the Democratic Party going forward, and like they need somebody to blame? Like, what's the deal?
I don't know. You know, it's a good question on the timing. First of all, when it's labeled as a cover up, you know, I think it's pretty funny because, like you said, it was in plain sight, right? And it's an to me, it's really an interesting, you know, way to look at people really just want their narratives satisfied, right? There was a large enough section of the United States, if you believe 2020, that the most American, he's the most popular person to ever run president because 80 million people, or 90 million people voted for the guy apparently. But a large enough section of the Americans chose to basically believe that he was totally fine because Jake Tapper and Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo and all these other people said he was fine. It's not a cover. I mean, the guy was talking to bunnies. The guy was, the guy couldn't form a sentence. And this is after he was a dope for all of his life. He was a gaff machine that prior to becoming the biggest rock star in the history of American politics while not running a campaign. His prior 2 times to running for president, he got kicked out before Iowa. He got kicked out once. He got caught plagiarizing. Second time, he also couldn't make it past. So I think it's a good glimpse at whoever it is in the room, like the Frank Luntzes that are creating these things, whoever it is in the room that's saying, look, we're going to go with Joe and this is it. And somebody's saying, well, the guy's kind of diminished. Then they say, so what? We're just going to shove him down people's throat. Anyway, there's enough of the public that's going to say, well, we're being told he's okay, so he's okay. That's our guy.
Right. So the question is, how long ago did they know? Because I'm hearing rumbling.
They've known forever.
Right, that they found out before, and they tried to cover this up when he was going up against Bernie. They didn't want Bernie Sanders in.
Look, Kamala Harris, who ran in 2024, she was the most unpopular vice president of all time, by their own posters. Okay, the night before they announced her as the most popular woman to ever live, she was the most unpopular vice president. Pelosi was on that show. She was the most unpopular. She was known to, and she was a moron. She never got past single digits when she ran in any primary of her own. And then, after telling us for 3 years that Joe Biden could juggle knives and walk tightropes while doing the Rubik's Cube, they said, oops, the guy's he's diminished. Now we're passing it off to the most popular person ever to walk the planet, Kamala Harris. They just force feed whatever narrative they want to go with. And there's enough people that'll go along. It's, calling it a cover up. It's like Jake Tapper will finish this tour, which is ostensibly about how he helped cover up or help, pitch and market the idea that a diminished Joe Biden was competent. He'll go back and he'll say, I told you the truth now about this while I lied for a long time. Now let's move on to the next topic, which I'm obviously deserving all the credibility because I don't lie. These people, it's all propaganda. It's all bullshit.
There's a lot of bullshit going on. A lot of bullshit going on. I want to know, we didn't talk about this topic when we were, bringing it up. Why was Lindsey Graham in Ukraine spending $400,000+ on a hotel?
Do we know that he was in Ukraine?
You're into that whole fake room.
Yeah. Until I actually, first of all, like out of nowhere, these guys pop up And you told me they have to take a train. Can Lindsey Graham fly directly into Kiev, or does he have to do the whole train, like midnight train, like Macron and the boys did? You know,
I don't know.
all I know is I'll be flipping through Twitter or X, and I'll come across something, and I see Lindsey Graham popping out of that corner of that room, shaking hands with Z, and then they start hugging and chucking, and so I don't know that these people are actually in Kiev. I don't until proven otherwise. I'm willing to believe it, but until proven otherwise. Why he's spending $400,000? I have no. Who knows?
It was him and Dick Blumenthal. So it was a Republican and a Democrat, two assholes. Go
Disgusting.
to Ukraine. Why are they spending $400,000+ of U.S. taxpayer money in Ukraine? Period. Hotel, not hotel. Why are they spending that money? They weren't there for like a year. They were there for like a day, 2 days. Why are they spending so much money?
They went to that room. They shook the hand. Look. The whole thing to me, this entire enterprise in Ukraine, like it just is so weird on so many different fronts. But this Lindsey Graham popping up in that room, I don't know. 400. Did anybody ask him what he spent the money on, or no?
Well, this just came out, so people are like trying to find out, what are you spending this money on? So I think this is something that
Well, I hope they ask.
Congress should call him in front of him and Dick in front of Congress and say,
I don't
what
know.
did you spend this money on?
Nobody really messes around with Lindsey. Even Trump doesn't mess around with Lindsey.
No, that's a pretty hefty minibar bill.
No, but I mean, Lindsey got some whatever it is for whatever reason. Like Trump, who will, he's takes out everybody. He's pretty much light gloves when it comes to Lindsey.
So after Lindsey and Dick were there, again, these names, Lindsey Graham, Dick Blumenthal, like you can't read. These are like in novels. Okay.
By the way, Dick Blumenthal lied about his service in Vietnam. That's who they're sending over there to tell us about preserving democracy and like the moral high ground.
Right, but after they were there,
right,
you have Zelensky doing that strike on nuclear parked planes deep in Russia. So did they go there and okay this strike?
So those planes, I think, because of the nuclear treaty, they have to be parked outside in a certain way or something. Is that another part of it? They do, right?
Yes.
Right. I mean, I read somewhere that that's actually an interesting detail about this because we park our planes the same way as part of the nuclear treaty. Those have to be left in a certain visible way. So if that's true, it would seem to be a pretty big deal that you would think Lindsey's over there rocking and rolling, 400 grand, him and Dick getting it on. You'd think that Z would, when they're in that room, be like, tomorrow's the day. Like, I don't know. Because they didn't just hit like a basic training camp. They hit nuclear, those plans. So I would think that's, that's pretty apparent.
So do you think they went there specifically to tell him, look, this is what we want you to do? Or do you think they got there and Zelensky's like, hey, by the way, tomorrow's the day. Wink, wink.
Well, look, you have are these talks trilateral? Is Trump supposed to show up and talk with Putin and Zelensky or something right now? Or no?
No, they're saying that is off the table right now. The other thing,
so
did Trump know about this?
Well, so I'm just saying the timing of all this is like a day before this talks are going to start. Lindsey and Dick are over there swinging it out. If you're, what the optics of it, or if you're Putin, if you're the world, if you're anybody looking at this, you're like, well, U.S. was over there. Do we believe they didn't know? Then what does that say about their handle on their ability to have traction with Z if he just is going to be doing this stuff while, such high-ranking, officials are over there from the U.S. I mean, again, I just think it's all bullshit what's going on over there. Like, if this thing were serious, you would think, well, wait a second, like this is kind of putting a wrinkle in our plans here. But,
right, we have peace plans, or President Trump is trying to get peace between Putin and Zelensky, he's going out there, telling the world, oh, Putin's killing innocent people, and I don't like the way he's behaving. We spoke about this in the last podcast. And now Zelensky is going in there, and while they're speaking in Turkey and they're having these peace talks, he's striking. And they struck again today in the morning, the Crimea Bridge, for I think it's the third time.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're really serious about peace, maybe you should take your foot off the gas and like chill a little bit and not strike anyone on
Well,
both.
also, it would be like, well, hold on, we're striking tomorrow. We've got Lindsey and Dick coming over here, and it's going to look a little funny, the timing of all this. And we got our talks to start.
Right. And the other thing is Trump never came out today or yesterday and said anything about this strike. Nothing's been said on his
I
end.
find it hard to believe that he wouldn't know about it.
How do you not know if you're the president this is going to happen?
Well, that's the whole point. If he doesn't know, then what kind of traction do we really have with this with Zelensky's government, where they just feel like, yeah, who gives a shit that we've got Lindsey and Dick here swinging it out? We're gonna still go bomb these nuclear planes, these nuclear wash planes, whatever. And that doesn't look good. If this
Doesn't
was
look
if the serious process going on, and you saw Lavrov come out and talk favorably about China. So there, Russia probably looks like Russia doesn't have too much confidence in the U.S. and in their ability to get this process on track. So
what's going to happen next?
I don't look. I said, if you take Trump at his word, I think his instinct since 2016 was you don't want to take on two superpowers at once, and if China is the real economic and potentially military geopolitical, opponent here, uh, it would make sense to, improve relations with Russia that can offer resources and act as a deterrent against China. I mean, we built China's economy because we wanted to create a deterrent against the Soviet Union. And Republicans and Democrats just kept doing the same thing with China throughout the decades, because we liked their cheap labor for production in the supply chain. So now China and Russia have a alliance. What do I think happens? I think Europe and Trump's government doesn't want to put an end to this thing, and I think he's got a real resistance there if he wants to. I mean, the reality is he helped pass, as a candidate, he helped pass the funding bill that sent 65 or whatever it was $billion to Ukraine. He got into the theater with Zelensky in the Oval Office, but the truth is, like, they've continued kind of the Biden approach over there. We're sending money, we're sending arms, and then Trump's doing his thing. He's sending out tweets. But I think if he's really trying to, he's got real resistance, and we also, I think, Nord Stream, we want Europe to be totally dependent upon us. So we don't, kind of normalizing relations with Russia for them would mean that they're not buying as much of our oil. So, the people that are really running this thing, we're obstructing Trump's agenda here that he promised on the platform. It's tough. There's a lot of resistance to try to end this thing.
Yeah, I don't see it ending anytime soon. I think there's a lot of people that it's in their best interest to keep this war going. Europe is giving a lot of money that they don't have. They're giving it towards this war. Germany, I think, has given more money than we have to this war. You got Macron over there constantly, spicing it up with Zelensky. He wants the war to continue. You got the UK.
You gotta remember, Europe is still giving Putin all this money for his for the energy.
Of course.
You remember Trump 2016? Trump was saying, "What are you talking about, NATO? You want us to pay for everything, protect you from Putin? He's your gas station. So we blew up Nord Stream. Looks to be. I mean, nobody's refuted it from our side. It looks like us with Ukraine and Sweden went and blew up with on German territory Nord Stream, which made them have to start buying more energy from the U.S., which is very expensive. They're still buying it from Russia. It's who knows when these people are crazy.
These people are crazy,
They
and
like
this,
hugging. They get on trains.
yeah, for them, they get out of the train, they get into that stupid room that we don't know if it's real or if it's fake or if it's soundstage. We think it's a soundstage. They shake, they hug it out like they're all happy. What's so happy about it? You got thousands, if not millions, of people dying on both sides. Billions of dollars being spent of taxpayer money, whether it be the U.S. taxpayer or the European taxpayer.
Do you have any relations, Rudy? Do you have any relations in your business where you spend like whatever meeting you have or whenever you're spending time? Like we go to. Are you hugging somebody like consistently for 30 minutes throughout your meeting? Like as you talk to them, you just keep hugging them
all the time. I'm hugging the person. I'm saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you $5 billion so you can go blow up shit." And
right. So when somebody comes and sees you, like for about a bill, something like I need it, you just start hugging them and bringing them close, and like shaking his hand, and
giving them billions of dollars and saying, "Ha ha ha! Yes, yes, this is very good. Oh, by the way,
roll up your sleeves,
yeah,
come here and you hug, and you. I mean, it's so stupid. The whole charade is so dumb to me. Yeah, this hugging.
And then you have Europe, which this is what blows my mind. You got Europe saying, if we don't stop Putin now, he's going to continue into Poland. The motherfucker can't even get past Ukraine. He can't get halfway into Ukraine. What makes you think he's going to get past Ukraine to come into Poland? He can't even fight Ukraine.
It's ridiculous.
And they're making up some stories, and you got the European people believing it, saying, "Oh, if we don't stop him, he's going to come to Paris."
He's Hitler.
He's not coming to Paris. He's not getting through. He can't even get through Ukraine. We thought that Putin was going to have this amazing army that was going to storm through Ukraine, take Kiev, and take Zelensky down, and Putin was going to stand there and plant his fucking flag, and that was going to be the end of it. Guess what? We've been fighting for 3 years now, and that hasn't happened, and he hasn't come through. And people are suspect about him. Look how he looks in Russia right now. He looks weak. He looks very weak in Russia. So you tell me, if you were in Europe, would you be afraid of Putin? No, I'd be like, fuck this guy. He's whack. He can't do shit.
The guy Starnar, one of the train boys, Starner, what's his name? The guy from UK, Starner. He was saying that young Englishmen are war ready. They're ready to invade Russia.
Yeah, they're ready. Let's do it.
And Macron says that all the time. Then he gets mushed.
Let's do it. All right, we got to wrap it up over here. So again, citizenoutbreak.com. Buy the game. We don't have anything about wars in here because it didn't happen during the outbreak, but
we do.
Oh, we do? What do we have?
Of course we do. In the what do you call it? In the hoarder pack and in the surplus pack, we got plenty of stuff in there about the.
You're right. In the hoarder pack and the surplus.
We updated the content.
That's right. We do have updated content to reflect the war. And
everything.
Everything. And we will be back next week with another interesting podcast. And
COVID's on the rise again. They're recommending masks and all that stuff.
Yes, I'm going
to come out with another pack.
Mask and my gloves on the way to work tomorrow as I drive by myself in the car.
Well, please, next podcast, maybe we'll have to mask up.
Yes, we will mask up next week on the podcast. Thank you very much. iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your dad, tell your brothers and sisters, and your cousins too. And that roommate that you don't talk to from college, tell them too. Goodbye.